Hey guys, we're live. We're tuning in. This is our 100x Crypto Academy. We do this every Sunday, and yeah, we're quite excited because it's been a long time between drinks, and we've been slugging away. And sometimes we come on and we talk about stuff. It's not exactly um, exciting, but it's good that obviously we're still here and we're talking about Bitcoin and crypto and for the good and bad. And yeah, it's exciting now because a lot of stuff has happened in the last week. Oh, it's just it's crazy. So much shit is happening and will continue to happen. So we're excited. So good to have you, and don't forget to check out 100xcryptoacademy.com. So hey Garth, how's your week been? What's been happening in your neck of the woods?
Been pretty good. It's been hot. You know, I like to talk about the weather. Well, it's been ridiculously hot lately. I don't know, it was like 35, 37 degrees on the Friday. It was pretty wild. And so it's been hot. But it's cooled off just a little bit on the weekends. That was good. But I think we're going to have a hot weather again this week. So it's pretty crazy. And I think they're talking bushfires. You know how like we had flooding, I don't know, 2 weeks ago. Actually, I think it's still flooding somewhere. I can't keep up. But now they're talking about bushfires somewhere in part of this. It's like literally flooding in one place, bushfires in the other part. It's, you know how big Australia is. It's just wild. So they're doing that. And anything else? What else is actually happening out there? No, that's all I can think of, like Australia wise. Not much else going on. Oh, that's right. If occasionally I see stuff coming on YouTube with the news, because I don't watch the news, right? But YouTube forces the news down your throat, even if you don't like it, because the Australian government mandated that they had to have access, right? So, and that a year or two ago. So, yeah. So, what happens is the news channels now come straight up on YouTube feed. So, what's happening, right, is Australia is like buying 3 nuclear submarines from the US. It's going to take a few years before we get them, but they're like, nuclear powered. Um, and I don't know if I don't think they're going to have nuclear weapons on them. They're just going to have conventional weapons. But yeah, it's worth like $300 and something billion. So that's like big talk here. And then at the same time, now we're getting all these threats. Well, more threats. We seem to be getting threats all the time from China. And apparently, all these random stories like China ships are interfering with our passenger flights, like Qantas. You know, when they're flying over, they're jamming the GPS on the planes. That's been reported, so that they, get lost or whatever. That came out a couple of days. So there's a lot of talk about like military stuff right now, and it's all to do with Russia, China, getting prepared for some sort of war or something like that in the region. So that seems to be the mainstream discussion about that. And there was a little bit about the banks, which I'll get into. Yeah. And of course, in crypto, wow. Oh my God. Like we went from like, I didn't know how, like if we were in a bear market where it was over, but now I'm convinced we are now out of the bear market and we're full into bull market. So we'll see if we're wrong, see if I'm wrong, but I think we've made the switch, and I'll cover that tonight. I think the crypto winter, I think, is over, and I'll go through some stuff tonight, tell you about that. And there's so much going on, and it's so bullish right now. It's unbelievable. Like, if you could tune in, if you will watch this, please do, because we're going to cover some stuff tonight. So yeah, pretty excited.
Yeah, right now it is pretty bullish. I can say that. Yeah, so we're going to talk about a bit of stuff like that. Pretty much what I've been doing is just doing. The weather's not too good. Bit smoggy, but then smog going away. Yeah, just been doing a bit of like just house stuff. I mean, pretty much that. Um, the grandkids come over. My missus, her grandkids come over, or the son, and then his mates come over. So which is good, because there's a couple of boys around the corner that they're all mates. They don't go to the same school, but they're all mates, and they get
Yep.
together and they play something, some game.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I go and buy them drinks and I buy them chips and stuff, and they have a good time. It keeps them happy. So, but anyway, the grandson, he's what he does is he plays the computer, and then when his mates leave, he leaves because he goes back home. But he leaves his stuff here. So I I'm not there to teach him discipline or anything. But when he's in my house, he's not going to leave without cleaning up his mess. So I gave him a bag, and I said, "Come on," because he doesn't understand English. He doesn't. He does,
All right.
but he's
Yeah.
tight. So come over here, mate. Give him a thing. I said, "See this? Go and pick all your shit up." I didn't say pick your shit up. I said, "Pick all this stuff up, put it in the bag." And then he got the message. And then as soon as he picked all the rubbish up, cleaned it all up, put it in the kitchen, then he went back to he's on his computer again. The kids, man.
Yeah.
So that was a little lesson for him that now he knows next time he comes here, he's quite welcome to do what he wants, has a good time, but he's got to clean up. So that's a little lesson that I thought I'd share with you guys. I'm not trying to be bad or anything. It's just,
No.
Just I don't
Kids gotta
like. I don't
learn. Even
like
adults.
kids are going to learn. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't like to see the place dirty, and I don't want to be cleaned up after anyone. So that's my little rant there. But
Cool.
other than that, no, it's been good. There's a lot of stuff that's been happening. I know last week we were talking about the prices of Bitcoin, and it was 6.5
and Litecoin. Remember we said about Litecoin in a month away. Well, it's progressed quite considerably since then. We're not quite at $100 like we were talking about, but give it a week or two, we might be coming back to it. It was $69 when we looked at that and said, well, let's see if it hits 100 in a month's time. So it's looking good already.
Yeah, well, that's it. And Solana,
easy money.
I can't remember what Solana was, but it was just funny because we were talking about last week towards the end of the webinar. We're like, oh, let's just see. And mind you, Bitcoin back then, last webinar we did was Bitcoin was 20,500. Today, Bitcoin's obviously everyone knows it's 27,000. So it's gone up basically 32% in 7 days, which is crazy. And Garth's going to probably talk more about that sort of stuff with the banks and stuff. But I say all the time that and this time around I'm very hesitant on investing in a lot of these projects. So you're not going to hear I'll still report on stuff that I hear and that could be promising, but really I think that it's good that this is pretty much our second bear market that we've had, and it's kind of like this is good for us for learning, because now I don't just jump into anything. I literally just I don't even jump into anything. I just like
Oh, come on, dude! I've got some great Shiba Inu shit coins on Pink Sale, Pink Finance that we could check out.
I mean, honestly, they're so original. I mean, and they just they just keep on popping up and popping up and popping up, and I just go, why do they do this? Why do people?
They're raising last week. They raised $3 million across the board from Pink Sale. Week before that, 3 million. So every week they're pulling 3 million out of these projects, out of these top 100 projects, and they're shit, man. Like they can't even come up with original names, and they're all just copy of Dogecoin and Shiba Inu copies. Ridiculous, but the people are just throwing the money at it.
Maybe we should start a shitcoin.
We'll come up with a dog name. Yeah, and then we'll just have it'll just say. The biggest thing on the pie chart when you look at it will say unburnt and unallocated tokens, and they're just sitting there like 30%. And then when it goes to market, you just dump the shit and take everything in the liquidity pool. Like, my God, I don't know what people are thinking when they get into it. So,
what's this under private sales? Is it?
No, just what's normal. If you go into, was it Pink Sale, Pink Finance, or whatever? I think you're probably there now. Yeah, pinksale.finance. If you go to leaderboard on the left-hand side, you'll see all the different projects on the Binance Smart Chain.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there you go. So just connect on Binance.
Oops, sorry.
Oh, you're on the test net. You need to go to the normal one. And then connect.
You're going to connect your wallet, okay.
I
Yeah,
think
to
so.
check.
I don't know if it works without connecting.
Because nothing's showing up. Maybe
Yeah, I
you
think
have
you
to
have to
connect.
connect. Yep, that's right. Hopefully it'll connect. There you go. And then just go to leaderboard
Where's that? Oh yeah.
in the middle. So this scroll up the top. Yeah. So
Yeah. 43
total
flat.
raise this week, 3 million. And have a look
That's
at some of the
crazy.
names of them. And like last week, you'll see some of the Shiba Inu CEOs. Shiba CEO, that's the latest one, CEO. I don't know what the story is, but there's like
It's
I don't know,
240
a dozen.
BNB.
Yeah, dude. Like it's
What
ridiculous.
the hell?
Yeah, I know.
AI coin.
Yeah. Some of them are like straight out copies of other things. One was
There's
called Chat GTP. I couldn't believe it. They literally named it Chat GTP and like took
Floki based
so
AI.
much money.
Like
Yeah.
people, what is it? Are these just
They're just
people are
completely
so
newbies. They
stupid or
have
what?
to be. They have to be newbies. I'm not saying everything bad on Pinksale. I'm just saying 99% of it is scams, but it's still a good platform for launching tokens. It's just that you could check any of those, right? And you have a look at the breakdown. Go to like that top one. Go to Pong Heroes. Who knows what that is? Click on the view pool, and you'll have a look at the allocation. Look at the pie chart, right? It doesn't matter what it says. If you scroll down and have a look at the pie chart when it loads, it'll tell you the allocations. There you go. Now look at that, right? Pre-sale, liquidity, staking, burnt. But see how the ecosystem all the way down to staking. That means they're all wallets that they control. You know what I mean?
Oh,
There's only
yeah,
liquidity. Yeah. So they got like more than a half in their own wallets that they can just dump on the market.
They are the strategic partners. They are the team of advisors. They are the marketing.
Yeah,
they
they
are
are
private
all of
round.
it. And I
Yeah.
guarantee as
It's
soon as they
just-
get enough pump in the market, all they do then is just dump their tokens. I mean, okay, some of them might actually have some limits on it, but some of the other ones are shocking.
Oh, look at this. Look at week 750
Yeah,
5 million.
Yeah.
3.8 mil. 2.5 mil.
So yeah, and most of them are crap. Yeah, but it is a good gauge though. Like, it's a good gauge for new money coming in the market, because this is new money. These are like people, complete newbies, are going there. So it's a good gauge. I think when there's more and more, newbies coming in, there's more and more money raised. It means that we're moving into a bull market, right? And like we're seeing 3 million. I won't be surprised if we see 10 million, 20 million weeks, soon on Pinksale and all the other platforms. Yeah.
Absolutely crazy.
So,
it's been really, really, really exciting for Bitcoin. Obviously, everyone knows that, and then Ethereum as well, 1,700, 1,800. So, yeah, BNB, look at that, 3. That we haven't seen that in ages. I can't remember seeing the $350 BNB in ages. So I think like probably mid last year was when. If we go to, hang on a second. We go to here. Bitcoin soar's highest point was last year. It was 30K. So basically, we're not at 30K yet, but you're looking at 8 months away. 7-8 months was last time Bitcoin hit like these sort of numbers. And you can get into the technical analysis if you want to. Resistant level, 4-hour chart. So this is all stuff that if you understand the stuff or you're into it, this is good information. If you want to analyze that stuff. So yeah, all this stuff is helping because of all the screw ups that's happening with the banking system and just people getting ripped off. This one here, the people lost not people, US citizens lost 2.5 billion from US victims via crypto investment scams last year. That's an FBI report. And that's just in the US, and that's not worldwide. So, and a lot of those, and I'm not sure if this involves bridges as well. Could be could be bridges. Well, I guess it's scams. So, you know, there's all this stuff that is happening, and this is contributing to. This is what happens when you get into these really dodgy, sketchy type of projects that are run by faceless people, or that are just, you know, they just do a dodgy. We've seen it all, and you go into centralized projects. Anything that is centralized, I'm very, very hesitant, and I want to do my research on it. But all the things that happen in crypto right now that are just going belly up are all centralized. Either they're controlled by one, you know, figurehead, like we saw FTX, we saw Celsius Network, all controlled by one person. Even Luna was controlled by. I don't even know if they've found him yet, but you can get the general thing, right? It's controlled by one person. That person then just scams people and lies, and takes the money himself or herself, and then that's what happens. Or it's controlled by a company that just you know, FTX was again took they used the company to then do stupid bets and blow money on stupid shit. And so it's a company, an entity, or even anonymous people behind these scams, and that's what happens. It all stems from centralized projects, right? And that's why I mean, I sound like a broken record. That when I look at Bitcoin, Bitcoin is decentralized, it's trustless, and you can't. Not even the United States government can bring Bitcoin down because they can't. And that's the beauty about Bitcoin. It's not controlled by anyone, but it's controlled by everyone. It's not controlled by one person, it's controlled by everyone. And this is the beauty about it. This is why I love Bitcoin. So, I mean, I always keep on talking about it. And you're going to talk about more about the price of Bitcoin, where it could go in the next couple of months, possibly. But you also touched on this thing as well about this guy here. So I'll probably listen to this. I know you've listened to it, but I haven't listened to it yet. But I'll put the link to this in the Discord. But you can talk more about this if you want. But this guy here, he basically bet $1 million Bitcoin. I haven't listened to it yet, so I'll leave the link to his Twitter. Yeah. Where is it? And he's pretty clear. This is it here. So you might want to talk about a little bit about what he said in this live stream. So it's like an hour long or something.
Yeah, it goes around an hour and 20. But the short thing of it is, but basically he's done some investigation, right? So he's looked into what's going on. I'll just see if I've got some information here. Whether I've got it or not. Quick look. Seeing if I've written it down. Okay. Maybe not. That's okay. I'll tell you anyway. So what happened was he's basically done some analysis of what's happening with the banking crisis, right? And I'll just share my screen because I'll talk about the banking crisis first, and then we'll move into it. So, are we getting to see my screen now? Yeah. So there's been like 3 bank failures. We're going to talk about the Fed goes brr, which means they're printing money, and crypto's winners over, which I alluded to earlier. So Silvergate Bank, Silicon Valley Bank, and Signature Bank just collapsed in spectacular fashion in March, right? You can check this article out if you want. I've summarized really what happened. It happened pretty quickly, like Friday, March 10, you had SVB. Then on 12th of March, Signature Bank, it was a bank run. And so that was basically stopped, right? And then on the 15th, plummeting shares of Credit Suisse. So there's still a problem with that bank. And then on the 16th, there was a situation with First Republic Bank with deposits. Because banks don't hold all the money, right? It's called fractional reserve banking. They don't hold the money. So when they put the money in there, they lend it out. and they lend it out all different things, and the money's not there. So when you go get the money, it's not there, and if bank runs happen, there is no money to take out, and this is what causes problems. But what happened was basically the central bank has coughed up a couple $100 billion. I think so far it's totaled $318 billion in the last week. They have just printed out of thin air to lend to the banks to make sure that they've got the money there for people to pull their money out of the bank, right? This is similar to what happened in 2008 financial crisis. Back then, I'll just give you an idea, it was $112 billion back in 2008 is what they did. But now it's 153 heading towards 318. So this financial crash that happened with this bailout, already we're well above that. So this is how big this event is. Just to give you an idea of back here is this little picture, 2008, right, there was 25 banks that went belly up. One of the biggest one was Washington Mutual with $307 billion. Anyway, there was about $374 billion lost then. In 2023, 2 banks failed with $319 billion. That was Silicon Valley and Signature Bank. So 2 banks. Now that's right, pretty bad, right? But what's even worse is we've got the Federal Reserve meeting on March 21st, which is in a couple of days' time, where they're going to discuss putting up the interest rates. And the thing is that there is still another 100, I think it was 180 banks that were in a position of those failed banks. So what that means is they still have to inject more money into the banking system, basically bailouts, to stop any bank runs that can happen this week. Because once people find out, now you might think, oh, what's this bank run? Or like, how does that affect it? I'll tell you how it affects it, right? Give you an example. I got an email from Etsy, right? Etsy, that big marketplace, okay? I think one of the banks that went down, I can't remember which one it was, but they banked with them. And because that money, that bank went down, they were unable to do payouts. So that means yes. So they have not been able to pay out all those sales that happen on the platform because they use that bank. And this is just one instance. And there's hundreds of companies that can't even pay payroll because their money was in those banks. So this is what happens when you get a run on the bank and there's a problem like what's going on. Normal companies can't even pay employees, let alone, suppliers or, sellers or something if you've got a platform. So that's how serious it is. And it's not like you can just automatically go get another bank because you got let's say you had millions of dollars in the bank and then it just got wiped out and you go, how do I pay everyone? So any of these companies that have issues or exposure to these banks possibly can go bust. That's how serious it is. And now there's 188 other banks that are in the same situation as these banks that just failed. So it is pretty wild. Now, how does that relate to, there you go, Silicon Valley Bank. So how does this relate to this other guy who's talking about it? And what he's saying is that there is going to be more banking issues. There's going to be what the Fed is going to do is they've already started printing money, right? They've already done 300 billion. They've basically wiped out 6 months to a year of what they've done already because they basically took off about $1 trillion off their balance sheet. And now with this injection of another 300,000, they've nearly taken it back to where it was in 1 week is what they did in nearly a year or so. So now instead of so Bitcoin did really well in the bull run when they were printing money, right? And now what's happening is they haven't been printing money for ages. And this is why Bitcoin really hasn't been going anywhere. But now they're printing more money. It's just like instantaneous in the last week. And they're going to have to print more money. Now, this the thing about this, and they'll probably have to put up interest rates as well, and the consequence of it is going to be inflation. And what this guy is saying is we're going to experience hyperinflation. And he cites some examples of nearly every currency that's went into hyperinflation. It happens very quickly. And there's some links to it. And I mean quickly, like within a day, literally something can double. So you can go, I don't know, it could be whatever food that costs $10. The next day it's $20, and then the next day.
Imagine that in America, how that would just absolutely shit would hit the fan.
Yeah, and they don't want this to happen, but the problem is they've got nothing left, right? They only really use sort of two techniques to control the supply. They keep on printing more money, and they're actually devaluing the currency. And the people are starting to realize what's going on. And they're like, okay, the only thing that is going to help us is Bitcoin, because there's no sort of other risk. There's already nearly all the supply of Bitcoin is out there, right? Before you looked at the supply, it was like 19 and a half or 19.3 million or something like that out. It's nearly completely out. And it's just backed, like there's no other risk associated with it. You're buying it, and once people realize this, the money is going to flow into Bitcoin, and in a huge way. Billions and billions of dollars. So we could see a rapid rise, especially if the inflation or hyperinflation happens. Now he's done a bet. He's so serious about this. He actually bet $1 million. So and someone took him up on the offer because they believe that he's going to lose, right? So the other guy bet one Bitcoin, I think the other guy bet, which was 28,000, but he was willing to put up $1 million in USDC or USDT. Anyway, it's been arranged, I believe. And what's happening is it was 90 days. And what he's saying is that Bitcoin will be $1 million in 90 days. Now, most of us are like,
that's crazy.
Yeah, like who would believe that, right? Who's going to believe that? Now, whether it's $1 million or not, it doesn't matter, because this guy's getting some massive exposure to the problem of the banking. So even if he loses and he pays out the $1 million, the amount of publicity he's getting and views is going to be huge. And obviously, he's not short of a coin, short of coin. So he's got some money to back him. But even if he's 1/10 right, we could see Bitcoin go to 100K in the next 3 months. And that is quite possible, because if we have any more bank collapses and the printing, happens, and it's one of those things where, how governments are well known for, they create a problem and then they supply you the solution. It happens all the time, right? Problem, solution. And so no matter what it is, it could be something catastrophic, but the government's got the solution ready to go for you, right? And they slide it in there, and it's funny. Well, it just so happens that the Fed has introduced some new instant payment technology that they're rolling out. And what there's been speculation that this is going to coincide with a central bank digital currency, right? And it makes sense, because if all this debt that they basically got to deal with, someone's got to take the hit for it. And so what they're doing is banks are going to fail, inflation's going to happen, and it's going to cause major problems. And the only thing that they can do is bring in something like a CBDC, and that way they then can control the market and get a little bit longer, out of it, maybe another 20 years or something out of it. I don't know. But that is the only thing they can switch to, because they're going to destroy the US dollar as it is, because they're already destroying it now, printing it. And they're going to have to continue to keep printing it to keep the banks afloat. And if the banks fail, it's like literally their economy, the whole USD economy is going to contract. Or they're going to have to go to war, right? This is on the sidelines as well. You've got the whole Ukraine and Russia, and now you've got Russia and China, and it's sort of teetering every day, every second day. There's always some encounter with some sort of drama with military, right? Well, generally the US, whenever there's some sort of depression or whatever or problem, which we saw back in the Iraqi war, the whole stock market was going down. The day they went and invaded Iraq, the stock market, I don't know if you remember this, but it just went gangbusters. It just like instantly they went to war, the stock market just went ballistic, right? And I wouldn't be surprised if, there could be something to do with war in this, because that's usually how America sort of has to get out of the situation that they are. Yeah, you got your microphone muted.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. It makes you wonder. I mean, I don't want to get all off the topic, but the till this day, there were no WMDs found. So and I believe that it was just a bullshit story. So then they would allow to invade Iraq, and how convenient. Iraq has got a shit ton of oil, so they basically, they were spending. The US government was spending shitloads of money, millions of dollars, billions of dollars to sustain that war. But the amount of money that they would have got from Iraq and those oil
access
fields,
and out of the oil. Oh,
yeah,
absolutely.
So that's
and it's
they
no
make these
different
bullshit
in the last 12 months, for example, Russia's economy is booming right now. So remember, there's all those trade embargoes against Russia. But since they started that war with Ukraine, that their whole economy is booming right now in Russia. So this is what happens when people go, like countries go to war. Usually their economies start booming. And so it'll be interesting to see what happens. We could literally be seeing World War III. We could be seeing, rollout of CBDCs, and we could see the collapse of the US dollar, which people have been talking about for a long, long time. And it makes sense because they can control it. Because at the moment, they don't have control of all the banks. Like they've got all these community banks, and they've got some, control over the bigger banks. But if they can roll out this new mechanism, they can then use like a basically be in control, like what China is doing at the moment. They can be in control. They can like literally go. You can imagine like if you get paid in the central currency on digital, right? If they want to blacklist you, they can. If you do something wrong socially, they can put that against your name. So it's plausible that they'll do it because they want to have control. So they're using this drama to roll out this solution, and the only other solution that's there right now is Bitcoin. And the smart money is coming into Bitcoin. This is what's going on right now. And Bitcoin is decoupling. I'll show you a quick graph of what's going on. I'll just quickly show you the chart right of Bitcoin. I'll share the screen. Okay, so I've just got Bitcoin on the screen now. Can you see that? Yep. So just like basically what we've seen. Okay, so this is on a daily. This is where we saw the 68K. We've had this long period here. But what we're seeing here is this is like a consolidation period and a bottoming out. This pattern here where you've got these formations of W's. So you've got like here and here. If I do a little thing, you've got these little patterns. So it goes like this, like that, right? We've got these sort of W type things. And this is usually like a bottoming out pattern. Now, what's happening is if you have a look at it, we've had this huge amount of we were like 16K. Can you believe that? We're at 16K. Nearly. We were talking about, is it going to go below 10? Remember that? And that was back in sort of December. And then since then, it went right up to nearly 24. We've backed off, but now in the last 7 days, it's had a huge run. And we're going to see, in my opinion, we're going to see it go. The first stage I think that we're going to hit is around about 28, 29K. That's the first target I think it's going to hit. And I think it's going to hit that this week. That's where there might be a pullback, but I really think it's going to hit that 28, 29K mark, which is a Fibonacci 1.618. It's going to hit this value pretty quickly. That's what I believe. And because this week there's a lot of information coming out, with the interest rates and the banking and what they're going to do and all that sort of thing. So, and Bitcoin, people who know what's going on, they're going to start transferring their money over in Bitcoin. And you know how like all the stable coins, right? The only one which is not brilliant is Tether, and it's picked up a lot of value. Like if we have a look at I think we've got Tether here. Tether. I'll show you the where is the stock market. This is the Dow Jones index. See how it's been going downwards, sort of downwards trend. That's just like the stock market over there. And we have a look at maybe the NASDAQ. Some of the NASDAQ, some of those have been doing well. Yep. But some of the actual main markets themselves have been going down. You can see that here. So yeah, it's really interesting. But what's happening is Bitcoin's actually decoupling from the market itself. So the stock market is basically going down, but Bitcoin is going up. And this hasn't been the case for some time, but this is what's happening, now with it. So this is pretty wild. And, you could easily, as I said, I think 28, 29K. But, it doesn't take long. If we look at this last period, right, when it had this run up, okay, when it was back at, remember that big run up where it went from 40K to 68K? That was from like October to like middle of November, a month and a half. Correct? Yeah, month and a half to have that run. So that's how quickly we could have the same thing. And if we get any more, bad news with banks and the more the printing. And if I'd have to go on to, I think on Twitter.
Well, that's what happened with the bull run when Bitcoin went to 19.5. I remember that. It was literally December, and then like within a short period of time, in a couple of weeks, it just went whoosh to 19.5. So, and you look at all these peaks, they're the same. It just, they're massive spikes, and that's this. So if this, like you said, if it goes like 30K, it's either going to smash, go right up, and we're going to see this.
Remember December? This is back in December 20. It went from like 17, 16K to 40K in like a month. See, doubled in a month, and then it even further. It's just unbelievable. So this is how quickly it moves. This is why, we talk about it all the time about DCAing into it so that you have a position. So this consolidation period here, since July last year, any sort of, you picked up here, you'd be set because now we're in a really strong position. So, yeah, this is very exciting. If we have a look at the total market cap for crypto is now 1.12 trillion. And it might actually might be making new highs there. So yeah, it's looking very bullish for Bitcoin at the moment, and it's basically to do with these bank failures, the printing from the Fed, and possibly inflation's not going to go anywhere. And possibly hyperinflation. So yeah, it's pretty wild. So yeah, I really think we're in for a massive bull run. And it's going to be unlike we've seen it before. Now, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But hey, I'm going to give it a go. I'm going to say this is what's going on.
Yeah, I'm just trying to look at the last week's webinar and look at. I think it was about 900.
Which one? What one?
For market cap for crypto.
For the market cap last week.
Yeah,
I can have a quick look for you. So, what date would that have been? So
last
the date
webinar.
would have been 19 was the 12th. So if I have a look on the chart for the 12th, it tells me the market cap was 991 billion.
Yeah, 991 exactly. So back then that was only a week ago, and now it's 1.2 trillion. So yeah, basically about 300 billion has come into the market. Now that's come from outside. That hasn't come from, so that money has flowed into crypto. So yeah, it's really it's good signs. Now with the CBDC, which is kind of like, I think their bigger plan here, and I know the UK Treasury, which is HM Treasury, which is their basically their Bank of England, is like the default bank in England that has the pound. They want to go to a digital pound as well. So they're kind of like the US is ready to move into their own CBDC, and then the Bank of England are going to do their digital thing. So maybe they're just planning something big together. But got to understand that people that don't understand crypto, they think, oh, this CBDC is going to come in and it's going to just wipe out Bitcoin. Like, they don't understand. And I saw some comments on social media about it, and I was like, "This guy doesn't understand what is actually happening." The CBDC is totally different to Bitcoin. It's something that, like you said, they control it, so they can control the money supply. But it's not like Bitcoin where it's a finite supply.
Yes, they'll have an elastic supply. They'll make one that's mint. Yeah, it'd be like Tether. Like, I wouldn't be surprised. Like, even Tether could act as their digital currency when you think about it, because it's acting like it now, isn't it? And what's fascinating is if you sign up for alerts,
accountability.
They literally there's alerts that you can see on Twitter, and whenever they print Tether, you can see that the market is going to pump within the next week. It's unbelievable. It's like, well, Tether's getting printed, right? And then the Tether gets sent out to the exchanges, and then within like a week, Bitcoin's pumping. And we saw this. Do you remember when, I don't know if you remember, we used to always, there was a correlation between Tether and the whole market as a general, and there was like a lot of theories about it. But literally, the money that flows into Tether, it does go up and down, right? But the actual, I think it was $72 billion Tether at the moment. What is it? Let me have a quick look. Tether. Yeah, 76 billion, right? 76 billion market cap currently. So it's that's quite high. But yeah, and basically they have to print. The way it works is, if they think that the market's expanding, right, and the exchanges need more money to swap because Bitcoin's worth more, they need more Tether. So more Tether gets printed. But it's funny how Tether gets printed before the demand is needed. So there's interesting relationship going on there. So
I think the biggest difference is with the digital currency BTC and the crypto. They're not the same thing. Like, crypto is like a coin, a token that is created, has a certain amount of supply or infinite. But the CBDC is not a crypto. It's just the digital form of fiat, and they control it. So that's probably that's the way I look at it.
And even if it is on the blockchain and it's a contract, they're still going to have minting, right? They're still going to want to mint and burn, right? It'll be like kind of like Ethereum, I suppose, or some of the tokens. Actually, it'll be like those Shiba Inu shitcoins. That's exactly what CBDC will be, because they'll be able to do all the same functions. Mint new tokens when they want, so they can print money. They can burn off tokens, when they want to reduce the supply, and they can ban people. So if they don't like you, they can just put a blacklist against you, and then you can't actually trade in that. And if you get paid, by this new thing, and people think it's crazy, right? But in Australia right now, cash is like, it's very hard to get cash from banks. Like, you physically very hard to get cash from banks, right? Physical cash. Most businesses hardly even accept cash anymore, right? People don't get paid in cash, they get paid in the bank. So if the government says, oh, we're moving over to a central bank digital currency, it's exactly the same thing. It's just a number in your bank. So now instead of like cash, it's now a number in the bank, and you're like, what do you know? It's the same thing. But now that it's completely digitized, they can completely control you and stop you from banking and interacting with the system. And that's the problem. One of the problems.
Yeah, that's what they say. That it's the same, but it's not the same. Cash and digital is not the same. They're different. So you notice that they never say, when they roll this CBDC out,
they're not going to say it's crypto. They say it's digital, like digital currency.
Yeah.
They won't use the word crypto
Nah.
because
They don't
just
want
won't.
to. They want to ban these. Like America's still trying to ban these politicians over there are trying to ban Bitcoin and crypto right now. That's what they're trying to do.
Good on them. Good luck. Good luck
Yeah,
to them.
good luck.
Hope they
Yeah.
try to because they can't. But
They're trying to blame the crypto for this bank crash. That's one of the themes. I know,
bank
but
crash
it's actually
due
to do with the Fed. The Fed has caused the
Yeah.
bank crash, but they're blaming
yeah.
crypto, and because that crypto banks have gone under, they're blaming them. But all these other banks are now falling over because they're in the same situation. Banks have been losing money for years.
But hang on, in the US, isn't that regulated? So who's regulating the regulators? The regulators aren't doing their job. If these banks that have just failed this week, who was overseeing and who was preventing that from happening? Because that's what the whole system that they claim. That's why they have the SEC and they have these safeguards in place. But yet it continues to happen, and and they keep on screwing up. And now, Biden went on publicly. He said, "Look, we got your back, depositors, because if they didn't have that, if they didn't do that, they would just it would be a shitstorm." And then there was this thing with, that old hag that runs the Fed.
Yellen.
Yellen. She was in front of Congress, I think, with these other Republicans.
Yeah, they were asking questions.
They were asking her about it. So if this applies just to this bank, can you do it to this? Oh, no, we're only gonna back.
They were talking about the community banks.
Yeah.
And this is the problem because the big banks are now buying out these banks that are falling over, right? And if you've got all these community banks that are falling over and then the big banks are getting bailed out, what it's doing is wiping out all the community banks and just centralizing the bank control into these large banks. And it's not good.
Yeah, that's exactly what that dude said. He put it in. He's like, "Oh, so you're only going to protect these banks and not these banks? Isn't that like illegal?" So she's like, "Oh," but it was pretty funny. So this is not going to. This is, if anything, this is going to help Bitcoin. It's going to.
We're seeing it now. I wouldn't be surprised tomorrow. We might need another 5% jump tomorrow because Sunday, Monday, I'm pretty bullish because this is all this news is coming out in the next couple of days. Like people are waiting for decisions on the banks and stuff. Like it's going to be wild. Like maybe we should keep some updates in Discord. I might, instead of waiting till next week, anything I find out over the next few days, I'll be putting in Discord to keep updated. But yeah, the whole point is that you should have been buying Bitcoin the whole time. And if you haven't, I'd still be buying Bitcoin now. Obviously not financial advice, but it's literally this is massive. Whatever's going to happen is so big. I just feel it in my bones. This is something different. I haven't seen this for a while.
Yeah, and don't forget to. I haven't listened to this yet, but if you were interested, this Robert Breedlove, he's pretty good. He's really switched on, and he comes on Robert Kiyosaki's podcast every now and again. And you know what Robert Kiyosaki's like? He's like staunch gold, silver, and Bitcoin. But he's really Robert. He's a young guy, and he's really clued up on what's going on. So he's done this. It looks like he's done this thing with this Balaji's, which is
on the right hand side. You got Robert, you got Balaji's, and Alex Gladstein on the right hand side.
So I'll put this link in Discord if you guys want to listen to it. I'll definitely be listening to it later on.
Yeah, he really explains it. You can read through his articles and stuff like that. But yeah, if you listen to it while you're doing some other stuff or going through Twitter, which is what I was doing, that's what I like. You can listen because that's pre-recorded. You can actually play it, listen to it while you're actually doing other things, which is pretty good. I like that about Twitter. So no, it's awesome. It's pretty cool.
Well, I'll post that into Discord for you guys that want to definitely listen to this. But yeah, I'm excited about it because the good thing about it is, I say all the time even on Facebook, I said, Bitcoin's going to hit $1 million by 2030,
and I could be wrong. It could hit $1 million sooner than we think, and I think it's realistic. So if we keep on seeing all these screw ups by the centralized banks and people keep on losing money, government keeps on bailing them out. They're not going to trust the fiat system, and they're going to look, well, even if a lot of people, the banks are not going to go away. They're always going to be there, right? It's not like as if, I know there's a lot of Bitcoin maximalists and crypto people are saying, banks are done, but banks will always be there because there's powerful people that are running these banks, right? They can influence a lot of the stuff that happens in as lawmakers. But so there's always going to be this place for banks, but it's going to be, after we see so many of these banks failing and the government keep on bailing them out, there's going to be some sort of reform, and they're going to try to control it with this new CBDC. But the beauty about it is we can use the banks for what they are, and we need to pay our bills. Everyone does it. I use the banks. You can't just buy bread and milk with Bitcoin, although you can, but you can't. It's not accessible like as cash or FPOS or your bank card, right? So there's going to be the place for that. But even if people start losing money all the time with what happens with these banks, people are going to look for a hedge against inflation and a hedge against just building something that's going to give them more than 1% or 0.5% per year. I mean, all you really got to do is just put it into Bitcoin. Obviously, no, that's not financial advice, but Bitcoin's gone up 36% in the last week. So I'm sure that it can go up more than 0.5% or 1% with the banks are paying you. So people will look at other options, which is great. And I think that here's the beauty about it. It's going to continue to happen. We're going to see more and more banks failing. So this is in our favor because we accumulate Bitcoin and we use it as a long-term strategy with which we always talk about it. So time is on our side, right? Time is on our side because we're going to see more of this. That's not going to stop. We all know this is a fact. The banks will continue to fail, but we're just waiting for the big one. And when the big one hits, boom, it's going to just absolutely rocket to the moon, like you said, Garth. Everything just happens, and it just happens really fast. So what I do is just continue to buy my Bitcoin, and I'll continue to watch what happens out there, and it's really exciting because I'm having fun with this, and I'm really excited on where we can go with Bitcoin in the next couple of months, couple of years, and my target is obviously 2030. So that's pretty much it. I mean, I don't know if you want to add anything else. I know you've already talked about a ton already, Garth.
The only thing, there was a couple of things that I hadn't talked about, but just I won't go into too much detail. But Euler Finance got hacked for 195 million flash loan attack, and then the latest update with that, because that was back on March 13. And then today I saw that the hackers are going to return, I don't know how much money they returned, but I believe they returned the money to get the bounty because they're offering 10%, I think, bounty to return it. So, I mean, they just made a quick 19 million, if that's the case, right? So how crazy is that? Like flash loan attack,
there's no accountability.
Return the money, get paid $10 million, $20 million.
Yeah, nothing gets done about it. They can't find these people. It's like quick way to make money, and get out of the shit. Because now it's like, hey, we return the money. We're not like, you can't prosecute.
Yeah,
us.
we didn't steal it, and they made an agreement. They actually put it out there. I mean, it's a common thing that they offer the hackers to return it to get a bounty. It's a common thing. So yeah, that happened. Also, another thing that happened was we have talked about helium. Remember helium? HNT.
Yeah. Yeah. I haven't kept up with that. What's happening with that?
Yeah, you talked about that. Helium plunges 23%. Been delisted off Binance.
Wow.
So there you go. I think it's over. It's over. They got delisted. Yeah. I mean, Jesus.
Well, that's like anything. When it first started, it was great. People was profitable. Yeah. They made money. Everyone made money. Then the people got greedy. It became unprofitable. The machines, like anything, you buy this machine, you could get your ROI back within the first week, the people that first got it, and then it dragged out to a year. Then it was like 5 years. Now it's like they can't even sell them now. So
No.
that's going to sink the project, dude. You're right.
Yeah, it's gone. So they were pretty sad about it. I mean, look, they were trying to merge with Solana, which is great, but Solana's got a whole bunch of issues with their blockchain right now.
Think about all those people that have still got those machines. They're never going to get there. I mean, no. I don't know. If it goes to zero, then it's still $1.60. So maybe the next Bitcoin run.
They might try and list on another exchange. Who knows? But it's a big thing when, literally, when Binance says, "You don't meet our criteria," but it's probably simple. They probably wasn't enough interest in it. Remember, Binance makes money trading, so if people aren't trading HNT, then they're not making money off it, so they get rid of it. It could have been as simple as that, because the trading volumes are too low. But yeah, it's like anything. You've got to have stuff happening. People got to be trading it to be in the and then once it falls out of favor and it's not interesting anymore, and you get dumped. So yeah, I think that's the end of. I feel like it's the end of it. So yeah, I think that was all I wanted to cover. There was I'm going to publish an article tomorrow, which I'll drop in the in Discord, which I'll give you a quick. I'll just have a quick preview of what I was talking about and see what I covered before we finish up. Let me have a look at my posts. Yep. Yeah, it was actually it was about the $1 million Bitcoin with the hyperinflation. It's a complete article. So I'll drop that in there when that tomorrow, and that gives you all the information about it that we sort of talked about tonight. I'll drop that in there for you.
Yeah. That if that came true, oh my God, it would be absolutely crazy.
Even if it's 1/10 of it, dude. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
100K next. It's possible. It is possible because you think about the money that's out there, that's just sitting around, or that were in banks, and they're like, "Now let's move it out of the banks." Like, literally, there is, you can have whole payroll done now via Bitcoin, right? These companies that do payroll via Bitcoin, it's all done Bitcoin and other cryptos as well, and essentially it integrates with all different platforms and accounting platforms and things like that. So you can pay people in Bitcoin, and you can run companies and do that. So you can pay payroll. So if you do switch over and you buy Bitcoin and you're holding Bitcoin, you can then operate your business using the Bitcoin, paying salaries, for example, and things like that. And then, so yeah, this is it is easy for people to transfer over. And once they realize that, and it's like a flood, it just reminds me, and I talk about this often, but when Poloniex and Binance, remember the mass exodus to Binance from Poloniex? Yeah. Remember that? Yeah. It was literally 40,000 people onboarding a day. We saw the stats, and it was insane. And that's because people realized Binance was where it was at, and they weren't going to hang around Poloniex and all this sort of stuff. So they left. This is what will happen with that banking and the whole sector. People will go, hold on, let's just move. It makes sense to move over to Bitcoin and start putting infrastructure in for it. And when they do, other people are going to follow. And then everyone's racing to the door to get into Bitcoin. And then finally, when it hits, they'll start pumping it retail-wise. You'll see every day they'll be talking about, Bitcoin on the news. And that's when you're at the top of the bull market again. Which is, yeah.
I mean, with the infrastructure is already there. It's the Bitcoin Lightning Network is already there. You transfer your Bitcoin over to a Lightning wallet, compatible wallet, and it gives you the equivalent of your Bitcoin on chain to the Lightning that is matched to it on chain. So, and you can transact, and there's no fees, literally. So it's all there. It's just that people need to adopt it, and the people need to understand that there are other options out there. The banking system will always be there because there's always these greedy, corrupt people that want to remain in power. Yes, they'll always be there, but we as a people can use other options that we have more control over. and that's Bitcoin and other technologies will emerge. Bitcoin Lightning and it's coming, already here. So this is going to be exciting times. And look, I'm still going to be buying Bitcoin when it's 100K and 200K, and I believe we'll get there. It just hasn't happened yet. But obviously, you don't want to be doing, like, you want to be buying it now. If you believe in Bitcoin and you decide to, would you rather buy it now at 27K, or would you rather buy it at 100K? Even though I still will be buying it at 100K, I would rather buy more of it now. So that's just what I do. You got to sort out what you want to do. So yeah, thanks for coming on, Garth. It's been a good session, and for you guys, drop those links in the Discord, and highly recommend. Well, I'll be listening to that because I want to listen to that podcast. I know that Robert Breedlove does some good. He's really switched on. I've listened to some of his podcasts with Kiyosaki, and he's all over it. He's I wouldn't say he's a maximalist, but he knows what's going on with Bitcoin, and he's a pretty smart dude. So check that out. I'll be listening to it. We might give some feedback next week, and guys, have a good week, and we'll catch you guys next week.
See you guys. See you in Discord. Bye.
All right, catch you.